Hello, my name is Rachel. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to share with you my unmedicated home water delivery, labor and delivery. I'm very excited to share this with you today because I am now 6 weeks postpartum and I have just been super busy with enjoying my baby, and she is doing wonderfully and I am doing wonderfully as well. I think a lot of my quick recovery has to do with my unmedicated water birth. So before I get into it though, I want to say that every birth is different, every person is different, every mother is different, every baby is different. So I want you to feel empowered to be able to make your own choices, but informed choices. I think it's so important. Like if you do a full-on medicated delivery at the hospital, no shame on you. I just hope that you made that decision with knowledge about those decisions that you were making, because only you know what's best for your family. Like only I know what's best for me and my family and my baby. So with that being said, props to you, mama, if you were able to give birth vaginally or if it was a C-section. Go you. It is quite a journey, and it's an amazing one at that. And like pregnancy and birth is just the most wonderful, coolest thing a human being could ever be able to do over and over again. Like it's crazy. So let's get into it. I started having contractions the night before my due date, which is crazy because I'm a first-time mom, and I was told by everyone that usually first-time moms deliver a week late, but I went into early labor the night before my due date. I was having contractions. They were pretty steady, and so I got up in the middle of the night, walked around a little bit. They were like 5 minutes apart. They lasted for 1 to 2 minutes. I called my midwife. I told her what was going on, just let her know, and then she told me to tell my doula and have my doula come over and then have her call them when it's time for them to come over. What I did is I did that. I texted my doula as I was having contractions. They started to get more spread apart, more inconsistent, so I went back to bed. But they continued to happen. I was able to sleep through them though. So then eventually, got morning. So the day of my due date, I was having contractions all day. So they started to get a lot more strong around noon or 1. But before that, all I did was really like just eat, maybe go outside, bounce on the ball. What I should have done is watched a movie or TV or something to get my mind off of it. I was just so excited to be in labor that I was like, okay, I hope this is labor, which is the last thing you want to do if you think you're going into labor, is you want to convince yourself you're not in labor, because in your labor it will feel shorter. But that's not what I did, because I was just so excited to be in labor. So I just bounced on the ball. I don't even know what I did actually. Like I don't think I did much, but anyway. So it was going very well, but I was timing them. I eventually got to like I said, it was like noon or 1, and my midwife came over because the night before I had my bloody show and I lost my mucus plug, and I was so excited about that. As soon as I lost those, my contractions started to like pick up more, which was again like that time where I got up in the middle of the night, which I forgot to mention. So then my midwife came over just to check on me, just to see what was going on, and that's around the same time my doula showed up as well, around like 12 or 1, and so she checked how dilated I was, and while she was checking, she thought she might have popped my water on accident, so it might have been like a little bit, I didn't really feel anything, but she said she thinks she popped something or something happened pretty much. But she told me that I was 4 or even 5 centimeters dilated at this time, which is crazy and really great, because I was like, wow, that was like nothing, no work to do that. But so then they're like, okay, we'll just keep us updated on when you're gonna come. And so, but after that, contractions started to pick up more and more. And then my doula got here, and she was just talking me through, what to expect, what's next, and things like that. Let's see. So basically from 12 to 6 or 7, they just started to pick up in intensity, started to get more consistent. just started increasing. By that time, my doula was there, so she was helping with support, giving us ideas. So we would, get on the ball, try different positions, go for a walk. We walked around our apartment building like 4, maybe 3 times. And I curb walked at that point. I heard curb walking doesn't really do anything to induce labor, but it does something during labor. Like it helps baby get into position and lower. So did a lot of that. Then came in and we went on the toilet. I labored on the toilet. By this time it was like 6 or 7 p.m. and this was horrible. Like the position on the toilet was so hard to labor in. I felt so cramped, and I just felt so, I don't know, I just felt like I didn't have any room to breathe and anything like that. Like I could not be cramped. I was so uncomfortable. That was horrible. But I tried to labor on there for as long as possible, and then I really wanted to take a shower. I wanted a relaxing shower, and I thought it would help. But our shower is tiny, and I was standing up, and I do not recommend that. It was the worst. It was so horrible. I just felt anxious and stressed out, and like I just felt so bad, and the contractions were so hard to deal with in the shower standing up, and like Levi was in there, so I was like trying to like get his support while I was in there with him, and like it was just horrible. I just wanted to get out, and I wanted this to end. I was getting so impatient with my contractions. So at that point, because I was saying I needed this to end, the doula called my midwives, and she called my mom and sister. My mom and sister showed up, but when they showed up, I got stressed out, so I think it delayed labor a little bit. It probably wouldn't have delayed it. So because after they came and left, my contractions slowed down a lot and became like really inconsistent. So we asked them not to come back until a little bit later. Then what happened is, let's see, I started labor on the bed, and earlier in the day we had blew up the pool, the birthing pool, because that's where we wanted to do that early labor. So we did that earlier in the day, so that was already set up. The water was not in it yet though. The midwives were going to do that. So I was laboring on the bed, and that was fine. It was getting very hard. And so my memory is so foggy of this night. So I have it all just like written out because I cannot remember so much of it, especially time wise. Like, I don't know. So these are kind of rough estimates. So 11 o'clock, the midwife showed up. They checked my dilation. And what happened was the other midwife checked my dilation, and she was like, oh, you are not at a 4, or you were not at a 4 or 5 earlier, because now you are at a 4 or a 5 now. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I wish you didn't check it, because I was like really miserable. I was like, please, I don't want you to check it, but I wanted them to check it kind of. So they checked it, and she said that out loud, which she probably shouldn't have said out loud in front of me, saying like, oh, you shouldn't have said a 3 or a 4, because she's only a 4 or 5 now. And I was like, are you serious? So I was pretty upset about that. Like, it just was so discouraging, because I felt like it was so hard to go through. It was so painful, and not painful, just powerful. And like, I felt like I could not control it. I couldn't have control over my body. And like, it was hard for me to breathe through the contractions at this point. So then what they told me is okay, just sit down, try to relax on the bed and rest. Rest while I'm having contractions with almost no break in between. Okay, it was very hard. So the midwives chilled out in the other room, and the doula and Levi was on the bed with me. The doula was next to me, and what I did is I just listened to, I did not think I was going to do this when I first got pregnant, but let me tell you, it was so helpful. I listened to some Christian hypnobirthing. And most hypnobirthing I don't like, because I'm not a fan of the whole hypnotism thing. But this was like, not necessarily hypnotism, and I wasn't doing it to be hypnotized. I was listening to it to be affirmed and to be reminded of who God is and who I am and who's created me to be. And this is so powerful. Labor and delivery is such a mental thing. Like, your body's going to do it no matter what, but mentally, like, I needed to be there. Like I wanted to be there mentally. And so it's more of like a mental game. And so I really wanted to be reminded of God's promises and who God made me to be. So I listened to this like 15-minute hypnobirthing on Christian hypnobirthing on Spotify. I listened to it twice because it was so helpful, guys. It was so amazing. Like it didn't take the uncomfortableness away, but it helped me cope with the contractions so much better. Like it was amazing. And it was really special because their prayers. So in the recording, there's prayers, there's Bible verses, there's reminders of this baby is coming. God is allowing this baby to come, things like that. And like it was a worshipful time with me and the Lord. I will remember this moment forever, and I can't wait to tell Cara about it when she's older. But I will remember it. It's like a moment where I felt so secure by the Lord, and I knew that God was going to protect us, and I knew that God was going to deliver this baby, and I had so much faith in that moment and trust in Him, and it was just such a beautiful, intimate time with me and the Lord. And it's just, I was just praying these prayers to the Lord, like, Lord, you are here, you are helping, you are delivering this baby, you are bringing life. And it was just amazing. It was such a precious, precious moment, and I'm so glad I did that. One of the best decisions I've ever made during the whole labor and delivery was that, listening to that. So I think then what happened after she checked my dilation, I labored for a whole lot longer. So at this time it was like 11 p.m.-ish she checked, or 12, and then I labored all night long, all night until the morning, and it was so miserable because everyone went to sleep. My doula went to bed. Levi went to sleep next to me, but I did not sleep at all because I could not sleep through these contractions at all. And my doula, she should have checked up on me, but she didn't. So that was kind of a bummer. But and Levi here and there was like, you got this, which was still no help because I was so uncomfortable and just so miserable. It was so hard to go through this portion of labor. It was the hardest portion of labor for me. Just like contraction after contractions after contraction without any support was so hard. But then what happened was, not too long after she checked, my water broke. Like broke. Like it broke. Before, I don't know what it was, maybe it was leaking or something, but like this was a huge gush. Like it was just like, it felt like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like imagine, the slow motion videos of a water balloon crashing on the ground and breaking. It felt like how that looks. Like it was so weird. And so my water broke, and then I started shaking. Like I was like shaking like this. It was so crazy, and I had no control. I was like shaking like this. My whole body was shaking. It was so weird. I was like, is this normal? Like what's going on? They said it was normal, and they said I was in transition at that point. So that's good. I was in transition, I was progressing, but it was so weird that I was shaking so much. So then what happened is, my water though, there was marconium in the water, and so in my water, and so that they were a little bit concerned about that because that can cause issues with the baby. If the baby swallows it, it could be pretty bad. So basically what they did is they wanted to monitor baby's heartbeat every 15 minutes. So this was like maybe 12 or 1. They wanted to monitor baby's heartbeat every 15 minutes. And so I had my midwife coming in every 15 minutes, checking the heartbeat. And let me tell you, when they try to check for the heartbeat with the Doppler every 15 minutes, when you are having contractions, it was just bad. I hated it because I had to move positions, and it was just really difficult. But so the baby's heartbeat was very, very low at first when my water first broke, but then it started to get normal, and then it was okay. So then, after laboring and feeling so alone and just that challenge, and after shaking and stuff like that, I felt a huge urge that I had to push. Like my body was just like, if you can imagine what this feels like with your body. Like it was so weird. And I just felt like I had to push. I had to push so much. Like it felt like I was, when you're constipated, and like you just have to take a poop but it won't come out, and like it was, sorry, TMI, but it was just so weird. And so then I said, I have to push, like I feel like I have to push. And then everyone started getting up, and everyone woke up and came in, and at this time it was maybe 3 a.m. and they checked my dilation, and she said I was 9 centimeters dilated. So this was only a couple hours after she said I was 5 centimeters dilated. And so, which is crazy. So I was 9 centimeters dilated, but I was so, she said, don't push yet, you're not ready. Because if I did push when my cervix was not fully dilated, it could have swollen, and then I would have had to be transferred to the hospital. So that was scary. But I didn't push. I tried with all of my self-control to not push, but it was so hard. So my doula came in, she came behind me squeezing my hips together. It made it so much easier to like take control of my body to not push. And then they were gonna fill up the tub, and I should have been in the pool way earlier than I was. I don't know why I wasn't earlier. Like, I should have been in there way longer, but I wasn't. So then what happened is they started trying to fill up the pool, but there was something wrong with the hose connection to the sink. So they tried to use the bathtub, and it was like a whole thing. And I heard it all in the background, and I was stressed out about it because I was like, why can I not be in the pool right now? Like, I want to be in the pool right now. I was so upset. And then they also had a couple calls because a couple other of their clients had gone into labor as well, and it was just a whole thing. They were dealing with that, and I heard it in the background, and it just added to my stress, which was crazy. And so that was just, so basically it took them 45 minutes to fill the tub up. So by this time it's almost 4 a.m. and I was so done. I was so ready to go in the pool, and I had like a couple of times while I was laboring on the bed feeling like I needed to control pushing. Like, I felt like I needed to push, and I pushed a couple of times, and I was very scared because I was like, oh no, like what's gonna happen? That is one thing I wish I did more research on, is pushing, because that's almost the most important part, is like being able to work with my body, and I should have done more research on that. That's one thing I regret. But finally they told me I could get in the pool. This made me so happy and so excited. So I finally got in the pool, and immediately my contractions were a million times easier to deal with. Like, it felt so good to get in the pool. Like, it felt amazing. It was so wonderful. So I was in the pool pushing for about an hour. And during this hour, I was on my knees mostly, like leaning over the edge and just going through contractions. I was trying to drink electrolytes and lots of water, but it was so hard to want to do that. And Levi was helping me out, and he was like, man, that's so good. You're 9 centimeters dilated. That's so good. And I was like, I don't even care right now. I am just in pain, and I've had the worst like 4 hours of my life alone dealing with these contractions. I was so upset. I was so upset. But I was in the pool, so I was so relaxed, and it was so much better for me to like deal with the pushing thing. And I felt like I had to push, and I felt like I had to push, and I just like, at this one moment, I could not control it anymore. I was like, I'm pushing. I literally yelled, I'm pushing. And like, I was so worried though, because I didn't want to push when I wasn't supposed to push. And I was like, what's gonna happen to the baby? Like, I don't know. So my midwife was like, okay, if you feel like your body is pushing, then if you feel like your body's just pushing without you controlling it, then go ahead and work with your body and see what happens. And I was like, thank you. Okay, great. I will do that. So then I started pushing, and I was pushing for, I don't know, quite a while. It felt like a while. Like I said, it was like an hour where I was in the pool pushing, so probably around that. And so in the pool I started pushing, and it felt really good to be able to like push with my body and push the baby down, and like it felt really good. It was way easier to deal with the contractions that way too. So then eventually I pushed, and the midwife said, well, maybe try to like turn on your butt. So I'm upset that I delivered in this position. I wish I was on my hands and knees or a different position, because the position I was in wasn't the best for tearing. But regardless, I was in the water, so I got on my butt, and So I gave this one push, and she's like, look, the baby's head, feel the baby's head. And I was so out of it, I could barely even understand what they were saying. But I went down and I felt Kara's head, and it was such an incredible moment. Like, it was an incredible moment, and I'm so grateful for this. And it was just wonderful. Like, her head was so soft, and it felt like moss underwater, but it was so soft, and like, it was so crazy. But it was a connecting moment. Like, it was a beautiful moment that I had with my baby. And then my midwife was like, okay, well, on this next push, this next contraction, don't push, don't rocket the baby out. You don't want to rock the baby out. You just want to push slowly, and then try to get the baby out in the next couple of contractions, because it'll help with tearing. It won't, you know, like, you push the baby out way slower, you'll tear less. But I like barely heard what she said, and I just wanted this to be over. So I just like pushed the baby out. Whole baby came out the next time, the next contraction, and I caught my baby and I brought her up. Although the umbilical cord was really short, so I brought her up more like my stomach area. She like was laying on my stomach. But it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And you probably hear her right now. She's trying to take a nap, she's chatty. And it was a beautiful moment, and I was so relieved that labor was done. I was so relieved because it was so long and I was exhausted. I was so tired, but it was all worth it. And she was so calm. It was this really smooth transition because she's in fluid, she's in liquid already in my belly. And so when she transitions out into the water, it's a really smooth transition for babies. And I brought her up. She didn't cry. She hardly cried. Like, she was just looking around everywhere. It was beautiful. So then I was just saying over and over again, my sweet one, my sweet one, my sweet one. I was just looking at her. She was just like looking around and like just laying there. And we were like, what gender is she? Like, what gender is she? And so we looked, and Levi was like, I think it's a girl. And I don't know what we were expecting when we looked down there, like we were gonna see a thing or do something else. And so it was so, I don't know, I didn't have a huge preference. We thought it might be a boy, but we were gonna be so happy and thrilled whether it was a boy or a girl. Like, we were ecstatic that it was a healthy baby. That she came out so beautifully. So she came out and she was just laying there, and it was a beautiful moment. So then what they wanted to do is they wanted to get me out of the tub onto the bed so that they can work quickly. I'm so sad because when they went to check, well, what we tried to do first is because the umbilical cord was so short, I couldn't bring her up to my chest immediately, which was so hard and so sad because I really wanted to. So they were gonna wait for the placenta to stop pulsing. And so, but at first I had to deliver the placenta. Delivered the placenta relatively pretty quickly after the baby was born. And this is something I was nervous about just because I was like, I've never heard of this before. I never even knew this was a thing. And I had to labor through the placenta again. But like, it was nothing in compared to giving birth. So it was not a big deal. It felt weird though. It felt like a big blob of like mush, just like coming out of me. It was so weird. Sorry, but that's just how it was. And it was super easy, super quick though. So when the placenta came out, they cut the cord when the cord stopped pulsing closest to the baby. So Levi got to cut the cord, and I really hardly got to see it, which I was bummed about. I really wanted to see it, but I was so out of it, I didn't even care. So I brought her up to my chest, and I took my bra off, and I tried to have her latch or try to breastfeed a little bit because it's really important in that first hour. And so I brought her up, and I was having a really hard time, but she eventually did. But Kara, immediately after getting out of the womb, she was already sucking her hands and her fingers, which she's just a smart baby. Like, she knows she's hungry, she knows she wants to suck on something, which is really cool. But so she did suckle a little bit, but then they had to see the damage down there, which was just really uncomfortable and really sad because I didn't want them to take her away. But again, I was so exhausted, I didn't even want to say anything. So they took her and they gave her to Levi to hold, And so then they checked. I had a 2nd-degree tear, and so they had to stitch me up. They numbed me a little bit, but it wasn't numbing me completely because I felt some of it. And they asked if they wanted to, if I wanted them to put more numbing shots in me. I was just like, no, just get it over with. This pain is nothing compared to how it felt to give birth, and the trauma of that and the hardship of giving birth. Like, it was nothing. So I was like, I don't even care, just get this over with so I can hold my baby. Like, I don't care if it hurts, like, I can deal with this because it's nothing compared to what I just went through. Let me tell you, the feeling after giving birth that I got, and that, you know, women get after giving birth, was amazing. Like, the intense feeling of relief, at the same time the feeling of adrenaline and the rush of like, wow, I just delivered a human being. Like, I just gave birth to a human being. And the relief, it just brings me so much joy and peace. Like, wow, I can't believe my body could do that. I can't believe I did that, because there's so much of it I thought that I wasn't going to be able to do it. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not able to do this. This is impossible for me. I can't do this. And it wasn't impossible. Like, God created me to do this, and He created my body to do it, whether I in here liked it or not. Like, He created my body to do it. And so He literally gave me all the strength that I could. Like, I could not have done it if He did not give me the strength to. He literally built my body to have strength to do it. And I was just praising Him, and I felt so amazing. I felt like I can do anything. I felt like I can do anything after delivering this baby, because I felt like I could not do this, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done, ever. But I did it by the grace of God, and now we have a very healthy baby and a healthy mama. Postpartum, I was so out of it. So the whole day, so she was born at 5:11 a.m. on the day after my due date, and so that whole day I was so out of it. I slept probably the whole day. Like, I don't even remember what we did. We just stayed in bed like all day. Yeah, I can't even remember anything. But it was precious, and the first week having Cara was amazing. It was so hard, but it was amazing. It was wonderful, and I would not trade it for the world. Another thing I do regret though is not doing more skin to skin. I wish I did way more skin to skin that first week, but that is okay. Breastfeeding was very hard because she had a bad latch. So like the second day after she was feeding and stuff, my one breast had like some scarring on it, even like not scarring, but just like it was so painful. It was so painful. So I called the lactation consultant, had her come over. She gave me a nipple shield to use. I used it for about a little less than 2 weeks. But breastfeeding was so hard and emotionally exhausting. And the first like 3 days I was so emotional. The first like 2 weeks at least, I was very, very emotional, crying almost like just a little bit, like every evening, maybe every other evening. I was just crying, and the adjustment is crazy. And postpartum wise, I don't know, I'd say I did pretty well. Like it's a weird feeling, like going pee and stuff, and it's a weird feeling walking a lot. Like it's just achy. It doesn't necessarily hurt or anything, and I thought it was going to, but it's not. It's really not that bad. I was definitely, able to deal with it. And so, yeah. So the first week of postpartum was a dream. It really was. And she did really well. Like, she barely cries. Like, she barely cried. She barely has cried. I mean, compared to what I heard, this has been so much better than what I thought this was going to be, and I'm so grateful. She's not a cry baby. She's not a colicky baby. She's very calm, and her cries are even like like she's not bad at all, and I'm so grateful for that. It's been wonderful, and becoming a mom has been the greatest journey ever, and it has been just amazing. It really, really has, and I'm so grateful that God made me a mom, and I'm excited to be continuing to learn more and more as every day goes by, and can't believe today she's already 6 weeks old. Like, can't believe it was 6 weeks ago. And she's so big. She's already like almost 11 pounds. Like, oh my gosh. But every moment I'm just cherishing. In the past 6 weeks, I've been just cherishing every single moment because I know that she's not going to be this small forever, and she's going to grow up so fast. And but I really think the water birth was amazing, and I'm gonna try not to do any births without being in water ever again. Like, I want to be in water for way longer, and I want to study more on pushing, because that's one thing I really should have studied more on. Other than that, it was an amazing birth, and I'm so grateful for it. My midwives were amazing, so empowering, so knowledgeable, very comforting and confident. I highly recommend doing a water birth if your birth is no risk pregnancy, if you're not high risk or anything like that. Like, it is so worth it and so wonderful. I'm so grateful, and now I'm doing so well. The past 2 or 3 weeks I've been going on very long walks. I think after my 3rd week postpartum, I started going on walks every other day. I was walking like 3 or 4 miles. And then I started doing it every day. So this week I walked like 3 miles, and then 2 miles, and then around 4 miles. It's always between like 3 and 4 miles. And today I just walked a little over 2 miles, and I'm feeling so good. So good. And I have to give credit to a water birth, an unmedicated water birth. I really think that has to do with my quick recovery, and I definitely recommend it. It was just amazing. I can't say enough good things about it. So anyway, that is my birth story, Kara's birth story rather. And yeah, it was quite a journey, and pregnancy is not easy. Birth is not easy. And so all of the mamas out there who are young and scared, you can do this. Even though your mind says you can't, you can, 100%. And so many women have been doing this for years and years and years. You're not alone, and it is an amazing gift to become a mom. It's an amazing, amazing gift. And like, it's just something else to be able to give yourself to another human, to help them survive for so long. And like, God has made women nurturers of his creation. And as it says in Genesis, I think it's in Genesis, I can't remember the chapter, but it's just really amazing, and it's just such a gift to be a parent of a little human, and it's wonderful. But so far, so good. I'm so grateful, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I could do a Q&A video of this. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless you. Also, secret note for you, baby Kara. Someday, maybe you'll watch this, and you'll see how you came into this world. I want you to know how much I love you. I love you so, so much. I think you're amazing. I think you're wonderful, and I will never, ever regret giving birth to you. I will never regret carrying you in my womb for 9 months, and I want you to know that God knew you from the moment you were conceived. He knew you even before you came into existence. But all the way up from the point that we found out we were pregnant, all the way through my pregnancy, I didn't know necessarily who you were, but God knew, and he was creating you exactly who you are. He was creating you with exact type of facial features. He was creating you with your body. He knew exactly what's going to come in your future. He knows what's going on now, and he knew you as he was creating you in my womb. And I prayed that. I prayed Psalm 71 over you, and I prayed that God would just deliver you and I into a safe pregnancy and a safe birth, and he did that. And he knew you, and he knows you so much, and he loves you so much, Kara, and I love you so, so, so much. You are just a 6 weeks old baby right in the other room right now. Like, you're just 6 weeks old. 6 weeks old. Who knows how old you'll be when you watch this, but I love you so much. You are my precious one, and I will always cherish you. All right. Love you.
Yeah, the feel that. That's why mom head is there.
It's so close.
You're almost done. It's almost here.
your baby?
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's right there. The baby's right there, so I'm gonna reach down.
Okay, well, I'm gonna need you to stop pushing on the pool.
Yeah.
Okay, Alyssa, let go of the pool, please.
Oh, sorry.
It's alright, you're making me a little seasick.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's alright.
Can you feel the cord?
It's too,
Can you come down enough?
not hard on it.
Right there.
So with this next contraction, don't just try and deliver the rest of the baby. You know, you definitely want to give it some nice pushing effort, but don't try and blast it out.
Slow and steady. Slow and steady. Breathe on the chest. Slow and steady.
Come in.
You're so good.
Feel cheeks. Alright, give it a good push. Push.
Push.
Good. Alright, remember, you got a little bit of a short cord. Right? Yep, buddy. Oh, my butt's turning lights off.
I knew your butt was big.
Yes, get this.
Yeah.
Let's talk to her. To him, her, I don't know. We don't know yet. So you guys are gonna make the announcement.
Yep.
Come on, baby. Come on, cry.
Alright.
I mean, she's looking. She's like, okay, I'm startled. That was a lot.
Your eyes are open. Good.
Even without her crying, like her tone and everything is great.
Yeah.
Hi, baby.
Come, talk to you, baby. Huh?
Flick a bit.
She's just like, all right, well. She, I don't know. I'm saying she, but just because.
The
Huh?
baby mad.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, you. See what's going on. Hey, baby.
Yes. Baby. Come on, sweet one.
Give me another towel.
Yeah.
Sweet one. Come on.
You might need to go ahead and cut.
Hey, baby.
She's trying.
There you go. I can make the baby cry. It's the only time I'm happy to say that.
Hey, baby.
Oh, that sounds heavy.
Yeah. That was probably not the one I would have gone to first.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Here. Let's find a lighter one, maybe.
Yeah. This is lighter than the other. This is normal.
It's a girl.
Sorry.
It's a girl.
Come on, baby. Just keep that. Yeah, just keep down just a little bit because you have a short little cord.
Yeah.
She's trying.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's still kind of blue.
Yep. We have more light. There's no more light in here. Is
Yeah,
there?
that one right there where you are.
Turn that light on.
Come on.
There we go. Yeah. Come on, baby girl.
I got 110 on heart, but
Okay.
respirations are.
Let's get the bulb. We'll do a little suction.
Big cry, baby. Big cry.
Come
There you go.
I know. Come.
Yep. Do it again. Do it again.
Okay.
And go for the nose.
Come on, baby.
on.
There you go.
You're trying.
Why are y'all doing that?
It's okay, baby.
Well, that is it. And this is little baby Cara. She is 6 weeks and 3 days old now. Is that right? She's so wonderful. We're doing so good. And yeah, that's about it. Just wanted you to meet her now, face to face.